Who's ready for a show? Step right up, fight fans, because you're about to witness something special. Dakota Ditcheva isn't just another fighter. She's a force of nature equipped with long, razor-sharp limbs and deadly precision. Don't let her model-like looks fool you. Behind that charming smile is a ruthless finisher, a fighter who doesn't just win, she destroys. Her striking is surgical, her clinch game suffocating, and when she lands, it's lights out. She's not just competing in MMA, she's rewriting what dominance looks like. Could she be the next global superstar? First, let's witness how Dakota was born to fight. Dakota didn't just pick up fighting, she was built for it. Born in 1998 to a Bulgarian English family, combat sports weren't just in her blood, they were her destiny. Her mother, Lisa Howarth, was a multi-time world champion in Muay Thai and karate, a true pioneer in women's striking. So, when little Dakota was barely 4 years old, there was no debate that her parents would put her on the same path. And from that moment on, she never looked back. While most kids her age were playing with dolls or scrolling through social media, Dakota was in the gym, grinding. At 16, when others were stressing over exams, she was fighting in the brutal rings of Thailand, taking on seasoned warriors. She wasn't just holding her own, she was pulling down her opponents with technique far beyond her years. Have you people seen her style? It's a perfect storm of elegance and destruction. She has a ballerina's grace, yet with the killer instinct of a trained assassin. She had what most professionals would envy: lightning-fast kicks, deadly knees, pinpoint counters. And here's the thing, she never left it in the judges' hands. Her fights ended on her terms, usually with her opponent crumpled on the canvas. By 2016, Dakota had conquered the Muay Thai world, claiming gold at the prestigious World Championships. But something bigger was calling. The rise of women's MMA was impossible to ignore, and Dakota knew she had the skills to make an impact. The only missing piece: grappling. Well, let's talk about how she becomes a real fighter from the striker. Rather than rush into the pros, Dakota took her time, spending years sharpening her ground game in amateur MMA. She knew that striking alone wouldn't cut it at the highest level. So she learned. She adapted. And when she finally turned pro in 2021, she was no longer just a striker. She was a complete fighter. What about her debut? Switching stances effortlessly, slicing through defenses with elbows and knees, she made sure the fight didn't last long. One front kick here, and then an unexpected spinning elbow. Her ability to mix styles, from John Jones-esque tricks to traditional Muay Thai fundamentals, made her a nightmare matchup for anyone standing across from her. The regional scene couldn't contain her for long. By 2022, Dakota had the MMA world buzzing, and the Professional Fighters League, PFL, took notice. They signed her, and just like that, she was competing on one of the biggest stages in the sport. You blink, and it's over. Dakota Ditcheva isn't just winning fights, she's erasing opponents. Clinch, knees, front kicks, lights out. You think you've seen dominant fighters before? Think again. Dakota isn't just dangerous, she's unstoppable. The PFL is a different beast. Unlike other promotions, it runs on a league format, with fighters earning points and advancing through a season and playoff system. And for Dakota, there was one frustrating twist: elbows were banned, except in championship fights. A huge disadvantage for someone who thrives on slicing through opponents with elbows in close range. Did that slow her down? Not even a little. She adapted, just like she always had. Instead of elbows, she leaned even more into her devastating front kicks and clinch work. Her first fight in the PFL was a warning shot to the entire division. As her opponent rushed in, throwing wild haymakers, Dakota remained composed. One slip, one counter, and then bam! A front kick to the body folded her opponent in half. As if that wasn't enough, Dakota closed the show with a single knee in the clinch, scoring the fastest victory of her career. 3 months later, she was back, and the story was the same. Signature front kicks, precision striking, and relentless pressure. Her opponents couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't survive. One by one, she picked them apart, breaking them down like a master sculptor shaping a masterpiece. By 2023, Dakota had entered the PFL European Grand Prix, a brutal tournament where only the best would survive. In her first bout, she went to work immediately, pinning her opponent against the cage, punishing her with knees, then taking the fight to the ground. From there, she transitioned seamlessly into a rear naked choke, forcing the tap. It was her first submission win and a clear message that she wasn't just a striker anymore. She was a complete threat. But here's the real question: how far can she take this? Is she just another hype train, or are we witnessing the birth of MMA's next global superstar? You know Dakota is a storm in a cage. Cornelia Holm found out the hard way. Dakota's striking was surgical, her clinch work unbreakable. Holm was tough, relentless, even, but Dakota picked her apart, switching stances, controlling distance, and landing precise head kicks and body shots. By the third round, Holm was running on fumes, and Dakota unleashed a brutal final combo that left no doubts. Then came Dublin, the finale. The moment where Dakota would prove if she was just a rising star or a world-class killer. Valentina Skitidze had one shot: wrestling. She knew it, Dakota knew it, the entire world knew it. But before she could even attempt a takedown, she had to survive the storm. Well, spoiler alert, she didn't. Dakota's Muay Thai was supernatural. Knees from the clinch, elbows slicing through guard. And when Skitidze desperately tried to drag the fight to the mat, Dakota effortlessly stuffed the attempt, bouncing back up like it was nothing. By the second round, her opponent's face was a mess. The referee consulted the doctor. One look at Skitidze's swollen eye, and the call was made that fight is over. UFC veteran Dan Hardy couldn't contain his excitement. That's some of the best Muay Thai I've ever seen in MMA. Anderson Silva level precision. With the European PFL belt around her waist and a cool $100,000 in prize money, Dakota wasn't just another prospect, she was the name to watch. Well, 2024, a new year, a new challenge, PFL's regular season, more fights, more killers, but the result? Still the same. Lisa Maudlin was supposed to be tough and durable, but Dakota's body shots? They broke her. A devastating knee to the midsection folded Maudlin in half, the fight ending in just 4 minutes. Then came Chelsea Hackett. One punch and she was flying backward, desperately clinging to life. Dakota didn't just outstrike her, she overwhelmed her. A relentless storm to the body, another brutal knee, and another first-round finish. 2 fights, 2 knockouts, 12 points on the season scoreboard. Dakota wasn't just advancing, she was destroying the competition. Then comes the jiu-jitsu test and the KO that silenced doubters. The skeptics had one last argument. She's a striker. But what happens when she faces a world-class grappler? Enter Jenna Bishop, a black belt, a submission machine, and a woman who had choked out almost everyone she faced. Do you know what's her game plan? Drag Dakota into deep waters and drown her. But Dakota had other ideas. Bishop shot in for a takedown, stuffed. Dakota found herself on the ground, reversed. And when she got back to her feet, the message was clear. This fight isn't going to the mat again. From that moment on, Bishop was a walking punching bag. Dakota got angry, yet motivated. She showed her front kicks, knees, and finally, a flying knee that ended the fight in brutal fashion. A striker had just destroyed a grappling specialist. Next, let's witness a $1 million fight and the night Dakota became a star. The PFL Championship. $1 million prize. A showdown with former UFC title challenger Taila Santos, a fighter who had nearly dethroned Valentina Shevchenko. This was the test. Santos came in confident, determined to chop Dakota down with leg kicks. But Dakota? She saw it coming. A perfectly timed 1-2 cracked Santos in the jaw, sending her stumbling. When Santos panicked and shot for a takedown, Dakota manhandled her. Back on the feet, Dakota let loose, front kicks, crosses, and finally, a devastating elbow. The floodgates opened. Santos tried to clinch, but Dakota greeted her with knees to the body that wear down her will to fight. A final shot sent Santos crashing down, and just like that, it was over. 14 wins, 10 knockouts, the youngest PFL champion ever. And with $1 million in the bank, Dakota had officially arrived. Is she the future face of women's MMA? Could she be the next global megastar? Or are we witnessing something even bigger and all-time great in the making? One thing's for sure, the world better pay attention, because Dakota Ditcheva isn't slowing down. She's just getting started.